Are you marketing your book to the right readers? Besides your book cover, which speaks volumes for first impressions, it's also important to properly identify your book's genre, subgenre, age category, and other useful keywords when describing your book. Don't forget to stick around to the end of that video for this week's Save Your Sanity quick tip, where I share something that actually happened to me when my book was stocked in a local bookstore. Hello, my name is Kimberly Grymes, and I am a young adult science fiction and fantasy writer. Isildes, Book 1 in the Evo Compendium Duology series, is currently available to read as an ebook, paperback, hardcover, and, more recently, an audiobook. Kristen Hilgart did an amazing job narrating and producing Isildes, and it's now available via Audible. If you don't have Audible, I'll leave a free 30-day trial link in the description below where you can download Isildes as your first audiobook. I've also published a short 88-page companion novella called The Red Umber Forest, which can be read before or after Isildes, but it's set in the same world. You can read The Red Umber Forest for free when you sign up for my newsletter using the link in the description below. All my videos include timestamps in the description below because you know why you're here, so let's go ahead and jump right into today's video. So you wrote a book, or you're writing a book, and when you go to describe your story to potential readers or family and friends, you begin by listing off all the genres that are present in your story. You just ramble on and on and on. I mean, that's pretty much what I did. So, Isildes, for example, is a science fiction story with fantasy and mystery and adventure and light romance. Sounds like everything but the kitchen sink, right? But at the same time, when you're talking to people about your book, it's okay to go into detail, go into depth about what your book is. But when it comes to retail bookstores or online stores, your book is going to be shelved or listed under one category. So choose wisely. Think of it this way. A reader walks into a bookstore. What section of the store will they find your book in? Where are they going to go as soon as they walk into that store? Marketing your book to the wrong readers can affect your book in a negative way, mainly through reviews, and that's not going to be good for your sales. There are lots of genres out there: romance, thriller suspense, horror, fantasy, science fiction, historical fiction, rom-coms, and so on. Okay, you get my point. If you want to know more about genres, you can always Google it or walk into your local bookstore and just check out the sections they have. There are also a lot of multi-genre books out there, stories where both genres are present and are relevant to the story plot. But even when you have a multi-genre book, you still have to narrow your book down to kind of one genre, especially when assigning your book an ISBN number. Bowker's website, myidentifiers.com, is where you purchase and assign your ISBN numbers to your book. Here, under the subject and genre section, you select the genre from the drop-down menu. It's here that the bookstores and online stores will use this information to shelf or categorize your book in their store. So whatever you list there, when you pick from the drop-down menu, that's what they're going to categorize your book in their store as. Remember, you want readers to find your book when walking into a bookstore. Subgenres and subplots are important, but mainly when talking about your book on your author website, your social media pages when promoting, and at live author signing events. Basically, anytime you want to give readers more insight to what they can expect from your story. You won't ever see subgenres or subplots as sections in a store. Well, except for good old Amazon. When an author lists their book on Amazon, they're given the option to provide keywords, which is used to expand the description of their book. These keywords can include subgenres or subplots, tropes, or different elements that are seen within the book. You know, if it's fantasy, what kind of fantasy? Is it paranormal? Is it ghosts? Is it witches? But again, all of these keywords are entered by the author. So choose your keywords wisely. Another website you can go to identify a book's genre and subgenres is Goodreads. I love, 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 love Goodreads. Goodreads is my go-to site when looking for more information about books I find in bookstores. I like to check out the reviews. I like to see what bookshelves readers have created for specific books. Bookshelves are created by readers based on what they felt the book's genre and subgenres and book descriptions best represent. You can even create a bookshelf called DNF for the books you didn't finish. You can basically create any kind of bookshelf. You identify, you name it, whatever. So the more people who add similar bookshelves, that's when they show up on the side of the book description. Okay, so now that you know how important it is to narrow down your book genre to one main genre, I'm going to take describing your book a little bit further and talk about 3 different other ways you can describe your book. And those 3 ways to describe your book include time era, heat level, and age category. Time era is basically a way for readers to know when your story takes place. Does your story take place in the past, in the present, or in the future? Now, historical fiction is considered a main genre. Most stores will have a historical fiction section, but if your book is not a historical fiction, you may want to include some sort of time era indicating or cluing readers in to when your story takes place. Is it during the medieval times, Victorian ages, or maybe your story is a fantasy story, but you've created a world that doesn't have electricity or technology, and so you want to just emphasize that it's kind of a historical setting. Present-day stories or modern-day stories could be used interchangeably when talking about stories revolving around our modern-day time. Futuristic just means it's in the future. It doesn't tell the reader what state the world is in, for example, high-tech society or post-apocalyptic survival. It just tells the reader the time frame is in the future. Next, the heat level that goes hand in hand with the romance genre. It's important to know your book's heat level when pitching to beta readers, ARC readers, editors, book reviewers, and other potential readers. I am not a romance writer, so in order to provide you the right information about different heat levels, I am just going to go ahead and suggest that you do your research, you talk to other romance writers, Google it, and find out where your book would fall under heat level, because people will want to know. Isle d'Este does have some light romance because there are some suggestive romance scenes and one closed door intimate scene. Closed door meaning I don't get into the details of what's going on in the bedroom. So definitely check your heat level because people will want to know and you don't want to misinform them. This also goes for trigger warnings. If your book has trigger warnings, it's your responsibility to forewarn readers before they pick up your book. You can include trigger warnings directly in the book, on your author website, and in your blurbs on sites like Amazon, Goodreads, and when you fill out your metadata for like the ISBN numbers. Some people like to mention there are trigger warnings and redirect them to their author websites where they'll get into more detail about what kind of trigger warnings they can expect to see. As an indie author, it's totally up to you how you want to post your book's trigger warnings. But again, you do not want angry reviewers. So it's really best to keep your readers in the loop ahead of time if there are sensitive scenes or sensitive topics that they should know about before reading your book. Okay, so besides time era and heat level, the last book description that's worth mentioning is age category. Age category isn't a genre, even though some people may mistake it for one. Yes, the bookstores may have sections for young adult books, but it doesn't mean YA books are a genre. It's really important to know your age category. And this is probably something you'll have established even before you begin drafting your story. You're going to know whether you're writing a middle grade or a young adult or an adult fiction story even before you start drafting. That's one of those things that you first kind of identify when you're brainstorming a story. So for age categories, for the little kids, you've got the picture books and the early reading books, but then you kind of move into the early chapter books for older elementary aged kids, into middle school, and you have middle grade books, and then you work your way up to young adult books, which are usually for ages between 14 and 18, but I kind of like to think it's for 14, maybe up to 19, 20, 21, 22. For me, young adult means that age where you're still dependent on your parents and your guardians, and you're still learning a lot of new experiences. You're not doing anything adult experiences yet. So it's all that coming of age stuff, discovering. And so that is the YA. And then you kind of shift into the new adult books, which is fairly a new category over the past 10 years or so. And new adult falls in between young adult and adult. A new adult for me is that first independence away from your parents or your guardians. It's you're out living on your own. You still don't have, the same experiences as an adult would, adult fiction, but you have all these new experiences, as independence. So for me, I feel like the young adult could be stretched to early 20s, 21, 22, because, a lot of these kids are still in college. And for me, they're still dependent on somebody else. Where new adult, you are fully out. You're out of college. You're living on your own. You are starting your adult life and your first time experiencing a lot of stuff as an adult. And then adult fiction is, obviously, you've been adult for years and stuff, so you have the experience, and now you're just going through adult experiences, stuff that teens wouldn't have to deal with or maybe not understand. So normally the main character within the story generally fits the age category, and typically readers read within their age category. Middle school kids read middle grade, teens read young adult. There are a lot of adult readers who enjoy reading YA and middle grade stories. Okay, so again, do your research, figure out what your main genre is, subgenres, subplots, and keywords. When you talk about your book on social media or in person, determine what time era your story takes place in, what heat level and trigger warnings, are needed if needed, and then, what age category does your book fall under. It's best to narrow down this information way before you start adding your books to Goodreads, or before you go in and add ISBN numbers to your book, or you list pre-sale information on Amazon. And again, a lot of this information you will have kind of hashed out during your brainstorming and first draft stages. I hope this information helps, and I hope that you have a better understanding now of how important it is to narrow down your genre and market to the right audience. Okay, it is time for this week's Save Your Sanity quick tip. I had decided not to list my book's price on the barcode. I can't remember why, probably because it was my first book and I wasn't sure if I was going to change the price, so I just left it blank on the Bowker ISBN pricing field when I was assigning this ISBN to my paperbacks and hardcovers. I was informed by the bookstore owner that if there's no price, then people will constantly come up to the counter or register and ask for the price. This causes a headache for not only the reader who has to go up and ask, but also for the bookstore clerk or, owner who has to go and type in everything and look up the price. So it was mentioned to me that going forward to include a price on the barcode. This was a really simple ad. I just logged into my account and updated to include the price, so that way any future books printed and sold had the price in the barcode. It's a simple fix. If you didn't add your price to the barcode, I highly recommend going and adding a price to your barcode. And if you haven't published yet, don't forget to include the price in your barcode. You will be saving the bookstore a headache, and it helps keep a really good relationship between you and the bookstores. Thank you for watching this week's video. If you haven't gotten a copy of my YA sci-fi story, Isildes, or the short companion novella, The Red Umber Forest, then what the heck are you waiting for? Go get it! I've included the links below for you to check out, and if you want to buy a copy, or if you want to go on Goodreads and just add them to your TBR, or you can visit my author website where you can read the excerpts to all of my published books and stories. If you're on Instagram, hop on over to kgrymes.writes where I post content for both readers and writers. I like to share posts about books I'm reading, stories I'm writing, occasionally my two dogs, Jubilee and Corey. And, stuff I sell on my Etsy page, which is stuff like stickers, a fun Bookstagram themed mystery box, and a bunch of digital downloads like checklists and worksheets for both readers and writers. New videos are posted on Thursdays. Be sure to ring that cute little bell to stay in the loop for whenever a new video is uploaded. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and keep moving forward.